We had constrained timelines, and I think what motivated people was how much impact their work has at a global scale. Keeping quality in mind, I think we need to be aligned with all the different stakeholders. So I don't think quality is a detriment to speed. I think misalignment is a detriment to speed. Knowledge is key, so embrace the knowledge.
When people think about what brings life-saving medicines to market, nobody can deny that science, manufacturing, and innovation are at the essence of success. But in the biotech world, where complexity is the norm and timelines can determine patients' outcomes, there is a truth we don't talk about enough. Nothing moves without alignment. Behind every successful clinical milestone, every tech transfer, and every product launch, there is a function quietly orchestrating the entire value chain: the project management office. In a global CDMO, the PMO is where strategy meets execution, aligning scientists, operations, supply chains, clients, and regulators across geographies, time zones, and priorities. And when the PMO works well, patients never see the complexity. They only see results. That's why today's conversation matters. I am joined by Dr. Shaguna Seth, Chief of Staff and Head of the PMO Office at KBI Biopharma, a leader who sits at the center of scientific innovation, operational delivery, and strategic planning, ensuring that life-saving medicines move forward on time, with quality, and with purpose. Today, we will explore why the PMO is no longer a support function, how managing conflict across the value chain is essential to progress, and why the future of CDMOs will be won by organizations that master alignment at scale. Whether you are an executive navigating complexity or a young professional learning how strategy becomes reality, this episode will change how you think about project management forever. Welcome to the Strategic Planning Room. Let's get started. Dr. Shaguna Seth, thank you so much for joining us as a guest at the Strategic Planning Room. Before we get started, could you please give us a quick overview of your career and who you are?
Thanks, Amy, for having me here. I think this is a wonderful platform to speak about, the CDMO landscape and what are the different strategic measures that can take the CDMOs to be successful. So, my career started with a PhD degree in molecular and cell biology in India, and then I moved to the US for postdoctoral work. My area of expertise was structure-function relationships of viral proteins and why certain viruses choose certain hosts. I've come a long way from there. I was a faculty at Emory for a brief period, and then I moved to the biotech world, so-called the dark side, as they say. I was on the innovator side of biotech, developing drugs, taking drugs from discovery all the way to, IND, clinical phase. And I think a few years back, I decided to move over to the biologics CDMO domain. And it's been a few years. I've held many roles. I joined as a head of program management at a competitor CDMO, and then I moved into technical roles in process development and MSNT. I was also the operational head of at one of the manufacturing sites in Seattle. And then now with KBI, I have a much strategic role, being a chief of staff for the executive team and also global head of program management. So I would say I'm a good techno operational person. I can sense the pulse of the clients because I've been there. I've taken drugs from discovery to IND and phase 1 and 2 trials. So I know exactly what they're going through, the pains they're going through. And that's what I think what I bring to the program management office to understand where the complexities are in the client programs and bring value and comfort to the development of the drugs at KBI Biopharma.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. What would be the single biggest reason projects fail in biotech, in your opinion? Is it misalignment or science, and why?
I think based on if I look through my experience, I've hardly seen science fail. We've always found solutions. I think what fails is the misalignment. And misalignment is something when you're working with a cross-functional team from all different functional areas, and you have to align everyone's thinking, everyone's thought process towards certain scope of activities. Things can go awry. And I've seen that firsthand that if you maintain the alignment across multiple areas, if you keep the channels of communication open, you see significant successes. And so I have to, hands down, it has to be the misalignment in this case.
And why is the PMO organization no longer just a delivery function, but a strategic capability?
Very good question, Amy. I think PMO is a strategic function at a CDMO because they are the central hub. They are the central nervous system, I would say, which connects the clients to the CDMO. The clients trust the PMs, and PMs, they bring the message from the clients and deliver that message to the whole organization as they are the central hub. So if the PMs are not aligning to the messaging from the client to the internal teams, that's when the problems begin to occur. And the strategy to which the PMs can maintain that level of communication and empower their cross-functional teams to deliver on the milestones is key to program delivery, efficiency, and client satisfaction. So I would say if PMs are not taking a strategic approach, not striking the conversation at the right time, not bringing the SMEs needed at the right SMEs at the right time, your programs will stall. And so it's really important. So they are not just there to manage the timelines. They are there to bring key stakeholders at the right time for the right conversation. That's why it's more of strategy than just managing a Gantt chart,
Right.
and a schedule. And how PMs deliver that, I think it's very important for the success of a program.
Right. And also we are starting to see this progression in order to support strategic planning at the 3, 4, 5 year out horizon. The PMs are the ones who are in touch with the clients to understand what the pipeline that might be coming towards the CDMO looks like from that client. They might be looked at as the source of truth for what is the appetite for a given client to produce more, right? So there is and that's where the lines sometimes become blurry between BD and PMO to some extent.
Absolutely. I think so. PMs I've seen over the years, they strike this relationship with the client's counterparts, right? And what happens quite often is that the clients will share a lot of the intelligence with the program managers, and that's what I think brings value to a CDMO, because then they can, exactly to your point, 3 to 5 years down the line, we can plan what the pipeline looks like and how can we be strategically placing ourselves to deliver to the incoming pipeline from the client side, and bring more business, and be that partner to the business development team, and help the entire organization.
Exactly. It's one team at the end of the day. What does the PMO orchestrate in a global CDMO that most people never see?
Again, very good questions. I think there's so much happening behind the scenes, I think, that people don't see. Definitely what people see, they are running the internal project meetings, they're running the external project meetings with the clients. What they don't see is how they're building and strategizing the entire program based on the scope and the activities per the contractual agreement, how they align internally, what resources are available at what time, so that the programs move in a manner that's been aligned with the client. So there's so much. There is convincing, there is influencing the internal stakeholders. There's cajoling that happens, which no one sees, which happens behind the scenes. And then I think the final product is when the delivery of the milestone is provided. That's when people see the results. But there's a lot of background work with the internal stakeholders, with the external stakeholders, negotiating the timelines if there are delays, convincing the client to see the bigger picture for why the delay could sometimes be in their benefit, and not compromising the quality of their the product that they are manufacturing.
Okay. And how does your organization help the other leaders make the right decisions about trade-offs and their constant constraints?
I think that's a very important aspect of being in a CDMO, because you have multiple programs being manufactured or developed at the same time. So how does one negotiate between one program versus another when your resources are limited? I think we have to look at the big picture. And since PMs are the client advocates, they bring that intel to the internal stakeholders, to the executives. Which program needs are most needed in the very near future is what dictates where we need to prioritize our resources. And I think that trade-off can be brought in by the intel that the PMs bring to the executive leadership or to the site leadership.
And in cases when prioritization is unclear, how quickly does that impact execution?
In a big way.
Okay.
Because if you haven't really prioritized internally, you haven't really looked at the timelines and the scope of activities or the requirements, whether it's an IND or a BLA filing needs from a client perspective, I think you're going to see delays. You're going to see a decrease in client satisfaction, decrease in how the clients would bring new business to the CDMO. So I would say in a big way, prioritization is key to the success of the entire organization. And it differs from site to site. And I think unfortunately, for us, every client is key. But I think at times of limited resources or when there are constrained timelines, we need to prioritize to bring molecules that are really at the forefront of drug discovery to the market.
Okay. And just to bring the audience back to be aware of the CDMO world, right? We're not talking about a manufacturing organization that just makes the same thing over and over again, right? You're dealing with biologics, you're dealing with living cells that might be developed from scratch if it's a first in human therapy. Can you tell us a little bit about how CDMOs are unique in terms of bringing new therapies to markets, in terms of innovation, in terms of trial and error and formulation and all those other things?
Yeah, I think we have a multitude of first-in-human clients that are our client base. They are taking these very unique therapies, which have not seen the light of the day. They have just been tested in the clinical trials or being tested for the first time in human patients. And there is a dire need for us to create a process, to come up with the process, the most optimized process that could be manufactured at a much larger scale. So when it comes to unique molecules, I think there's a lot of scientific innovation. You have to really design through your experiments, your unique process by which the manufacturability of a drug substance will be confirmed. So every time I think we are faced with a unique molecule, I think there comes a number of different challenges, but also excitement that there's something unique about this product, and ultimately it's going to meet some unmet medical need. And being in CDMO, I think we see it firsthand, how we tackle those scientific challenges, how we can tweak our processes to deliver a manufacturable product, which we can then scale up and then provide that drug substance to our clients for clinical trials, or if it's a commercial product, then distribution to the market. Right. So we see it firsthand at a CDMO, just because we have that luxury. We are manufacturing some of the first in human products. I can tell you, compared to this, when I was at the innovator side, I could only see drugs moving from animal model system into IND, into phase 1 clinical trial. It takes many, many years. I had never seen a drug moving into the late stage clinical trials and then submitted to FDA for BLA approval. And I've been very fortunate, I must say, that I've been through 7 or 8 different late stage programs, and I've very excited to see those drugs in the market, treating patients in dire need of such therapies.
And that's interesting because, again, going back to the audience, CDMOs don't just make widgets or goods to be sold. And therefore, the value of a given client that knocks the door of a CDMO is not only the revenue aspect, but it's also the patient aspect of how important that drug is to make it to the clinic for trials and to save lives. So prioritization takes a whole other level, strategically speaking, within the PMO organization. It's that you're not only basing it on projected revenue, but you're also basing that prioritization on the scale and the impact of bringing that drug to the patients. So I think it speaks volume about the ethical aspects of and work ethic that the PMs have to be in this fast-paced industry to bring those life-saving medications to patients.
Absolutely. I think I can give you an example that we were manufacturing in one of my previous companies COVID vaccine. And, we had very limited time, as you can imagine. We had constrained timelines. And I think what moved people, motivated people was how much impact their work has at a global scale.
Right.
People work day and night, weekends, you name it. And I think that purpose is what provides you the motivation to keep going. And I think when it comes to prioritization, I think who sets the tone? I think it's the PMO, because they are seeing all the clients and their products and what value the products are bringing in treating patients across the globe.
Thank you. So why is conflict between science, operations, and commercial teams not a failure, but a signal in this industry?
I would say conflict is healthy. I would say conflict is essential. It's a data point. And conflict signifies that we are at a very critical juncture. A decision needs to be made, and there is some stalling somewhere. And how we can overcome our conflict, listen to the cross-functional teams, provide solutions, and move on from there is what speaks volume of a great program manager and executive leadership team. If we don't resolve conflicts, you'll see delays, you'll see rework, you will see failures. So conflict is good, right? Because people are voicing their opinion and they're not keeping quiet about an issue which could fester and later lead to delays, significant delays, and drugs not meeting the patient needs or the client needs.
So it looks like in an industry like the CDMO industry, if people try to avoid conflict at all times, it could actually be dangerous and costly.
It will be extremely detrimental.
Yeah.
I would say, I think one of my key learnings over the years is like embrace conflict, embrace it with full force and try to find solutions. Right. It's not about you and me. It's about how you're getting the drugs to the market. It's how you're serving the patients. It's how you're serving your organization or your clients.
It's the industry imposes how to embrace conflicts pretty much.
Exactly. So I think conflict is healthy, I would say.
And how does the PMO organization balance the speed to market along lines of being compliant and provide quality products?
I don't think quality is a detriment to speed. What we need to understand, how can we have alignment across the different cross-functional groups? When we know that there is certain timeline, there is speed to achieving certain milestones, certain deliverables in a compliant manner, keeping quality in mind, I think we need to be aligned with all the different stakeholders. So I don't think quality is a detriment to speed. I think alignment is misalignment is a detriment to speed.
Okay. And talking about risk, where does risk usually hide? And how does the PMO organization surface it early?
I would say there is risk to every process step that we undertake, being in a CDMO, especially in a biologic CDMO. We have roughly a 45-day process. And I think the key to success is to identify risk early in the game. And that's where PMO comes in. We begin with the risk register and look at the entire scope of the program, from all the way to gene to GMP, and begin by assessing the risk to the scientific challenges, risk to the timeline in terms of tech transfer to manufacturing. So there are technical risks and there are some risk to making a quality product, right? So what could be those regulatory risks? So I think we need to start early with a risk register and highlight all the risks early on so that we can begin talking to each other and not hide it, because that's going to be a huge detrimental to your timelines. So again, embrace the risk, embrace the conflict, and kick off your program.
Sounds like a good plan. And how can leaders assess if their PMO truly adds strategic value?
Again, a very good question. I think leadership can look up to the PMO to provide, again, highlight the risk, highlight how the major milestones would be met or not met. What are the conflicts? What are the big boulders on the way? What are the resource constraints? So I think the entire program, with their milestone, with the deliverables and the risk, I think is key to being that strategic input to the executive leadership team to avoid any escalations, to keep the programs under control, and ultimately for meeting our client needs and improving client satisfaction.
Okay. And in your view, can PMO be considered a competitive advantage in some cases? And if so, how?
It is competitive advantage because we see in a CDMO setting, you have a number of different departments that need alignment. And who's that person? Who's that central hub that connects all the dots? It is the PMO. And I think that's why when the clients, they select a certain CDMO, I think they do want to even understand what's the background of the program management department, what value they bring to the table, how can they support the program, how can they address the challenges, technical challenges, bring the right SME, right stakeholder to the discussion panels. So I think, yeah, without the PMO being the central glue, the central hub, I think it would be very, very difficult for a CDMO to really operate and deliver on the promises they have made to their client base.
Okay. And, the profile of an excellent program manager can be different from one industry to the other. Can you think of some common denominators or traits between the various industries out there to have an excellent PM, whether it's within biotech, CDMO or consumer packaged goods? What makes a PM an excellent one?
I think communication is top of the list, and also risk management. Okay. I think these two different attributes, I think they are universal in every single program management function across the different verticals, different industries. If the PMs can communicate effectively, keep the channels of communication open with internal stakeholders, external stakeholders, highlight the risk at the right time, that's what you need for a successful program delivery.
Okay. That's a great answer. Thank you. And from your experience, what was the hardest mindset shift moving from technical roles into enterprise leadership?
It was a big shift in the mindset, Amy. I think when you're on the technical side, you are the decision maker. You solve the technical challenges often of a problem, scientifically challenging problem. I think when you move to the enterprise leadership role, you have to enable people to make those decisions. You have to influence people to make those decisions, and you have to let the brains in the organization to come up with ideas, but also be available when they are met with certain challenges themselves or their status quo. You should be ready to jump in. So I think that was the major mind shift, that I am not the ultimate decision maker, but I have to let the team decide and come up with a solution themselves, but be available when there is a dire need to provide those ultimate solutions.
Okay. And why is influence without authority so critical in PMO leadership?
It's because PMO deals with a lot of different functional groups, a lot of different departments, and not every department reports into PMO. And that is why that relationship building, that influencing, cajoling, negotiating, and influencing the stakeholder to see your vision or the vision of the client is extremely important. So I think being a leader, if one wants to be in a leadership role, I think they must, this is a suggestion, you must go through a program management role to really understand what influencing is about without power. I think that would really drive and hone in those leadership skills in their set of traits that they are trying to inculcate.
And of course, everything evolves, and so would PMO in general. So how do you see PMO function evolving as CDMOs become more global and more complex in nature?
I think when you become more global, you need harmonization across your multiple sites. And, I've seen firsthand that, when companies do acquire other manufacturing sites, I think they stay in silos. And so to harmonize the processes, the way we develop a product from cell line development all the way to manufacturing and disposition, there could be certain differences, but I think one needs to harmonize the processes to make it much more efficient, to enhance and provide the same client experience that our customers are looking for. So yeah, there needs to be harmonization across various sites, and whether it's in the US or across multiple continents.
So would you say harmonization in terms of efficiency gain, or harmonization for other reasons?
Harmonization in how you deliver a program, how you conduct a program, processes that you lay out, how you manage the program life cycle, the stage gates, and how you manage conflict, how you have tough conversations with either internal or external stakeholders. So improvising and harmonizing your processes, internal processes across the sites, I think will make a much better and a more efficient system for an organization.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Seth. We have a segment in this podcast that's called Forecast or Myth. So
Okay.
I'll give you a few statements, and if you could please respond back whether it's a forecast and myth, and if you want to add a bit more detail to that. AI will replace PMO in the future.
AI, that's a myth, because AI will be supportive in program management function. AI cannot provide a unique customer experience or a relationship management experience to the client. So I would say it has to be a myth.
All right. Execution failure in CDMOs is caused more often from misalignment than scientific complexity.
It's definitely misalignment. And as stated before, alignment needs to occur regarding the scope of the program, regarding the timeline, the deliverables, and the risk for the program. So definitely, hands down, the misalignment.
Okay. Speed to market is now driven more by decision making than technology. Forecast or myth?
I would say decision making.
So therefore, it's true.
It's true.
It's true.
It's true.
It's a true forecast,
It's a true
not
forecast.
just a myth.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. The PMO is becoming as strategically important as finance and the supply chain. Forecast or myth?
It's forecast.
So it's okay.
Definitely a forecast.
And if every executive could hear one message about execution and planning from you, what would that be?
I think strategizing what your execution would look like, how you bring together a cohesive team is key to success. I know there could be hurdles along the way, but alignment, identifying risk, letting PMs take charge of the program and build that cohesive team is what is needed. If really the executive leadership team wants to take their organization to a successful phase.
Okay. And if you were to address a message to young professionals who look at you and look at your success story, what would you tell them? What advice would you give them?
I think what I can tell from my adventure in the biotech industry is that I've been, as you saw in my career, I've been in the technical side, on the scientific side, and then I moved into program management, and then operations, and then back into program management. I think definitely, no matter which field you pick in the biotech industry, understanding technology, having that know-how will give you immense power to be in any functional area in a CDMO or a biotech world. So knowledge is key. So embrace the knowledge.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And for joining us to the strategic planning room, and looking forward to future collaborations. And again, many thanks for Dr. Shaguna Seth, Chief of Staff and Head of the PMO organization at KBI Biopharma, for joining us today.
Thank you, Amy, for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.